that.
But you said that you also worked in the landing gear
Oh, well,
services.
later on,
and
after
services.
I worked with my husband, yes, I worked with him 13 years, and after that, I really was yearning to go back to corporate America, because I like to be in my, when you work in a factory, it's a totally different mental level that you deal with. And I didn't want to lose my mental agility, and that's what I thought I was losing. So I decided to go back to corporate America, and I was asked to work for a company called AAR Landing Gear Services, which the main office is out of Chicago. And it originally started as a company that just did radios for airplanes, but then it grew to the whole airplane. And I went to work for them. Well, let me go back a little bit. When I became Muslim, I started wearing hijab, as you know, even before I got married, because that was the last thing I did. But when I went to work for AAR, a friend of mine told them that I was a great accountant, that they shouldn't lose me as an accountant, that they should hire me, and that she could convince me to not wear a hijab to go to work. Because they are Israeli owned, the company. And at that time, I really did want to get away from working in the warehouse with my husband. I wanted to be independent from that, because I believe that when you're too many hours with your husband, then you go home and you bring the problems from the work home. And I wanted my happiness with him. I didn't want the demise. So I went to the job. I took my hijab to the front door of the office. I took it off for the interview. Immediately, of course, I got the job. I had 3 months for them to give me for probation, that they check you to see if you work fine or not. And I passed it, of course, with flying colors. And when I went to the general manager, and he told me that I was accepted, that they wanted to keep us, that we were a great asset to the company. I told him that I had taken off my hijab only because my friend had suggested it, and I didn't want her to look bad in front of him, but that it has been the most difficult days of my life to be here, because I found out that once I took off my hijab, I wanted to be like the other girls. Every day I would do something different to look a little bit cuter, I guess you can call that. And that was devastating to me, because I had been wearing it for 20 years and I felt naked without it. So I went to him and I told him that the only way I could stay working with them, even though I was happy with them, was keeping my hijab. So his words to me were, if you have it in the car, I guess he must have seen me driving with it home to the work. If you have it in the car, please go and put it on immediately.
Wow.
So alhamdulillah, even though with some of the managers it wasn't pleasing to them, but I really didn't care.
Subhanallah.
I stayed with them. I worked with them 7 years until the business got slow and they started laying off a lot of people, because it's a curve. Every 10 years the landing gears all come to be overhauled, and then it slows down and then it goes back up. So they laid me off at that time. And some other persons that I knew from other companies that were in the same business knew me, and they knew how I worked. So once they laid me off, immediately I was hired by United Technologies, Landing Gear Aerospace Services, that they did the same thing. And then I went to work for them till I retired now.
Wow, so you got a very interesting background, a wide scope of life, and the whole 9 years.